I have realized that I'm live and I'm currently in Spain at the moment, having a break for the first time in nearly a year and a half, and I'm an hour ahead of the UK, so it might be that the original start time that was showing was for 10 a.m. and that may have been registered as 10 a.m. in the UK. So I apologize if you've come into this and you're seeing it after it was live. So I'll carry on going anyway because I wanted to get this out. And the subject of this particular live is simply to tackle the fear that people have around going on camera and speaking in public. Now, I've been speaking in public for some 30 something years now. I started when I was in my early 20s and I'm now 58. So you do the maths on that and you'll see it's a lot of years. And I can still remember going back to those early days in that, even though I had that youthful 20-year-old energy, which was fearless, I guess, to some extent, which we're seeing today in our modern day era of Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and the younger people coming online, and they are fearless. They're literally just coming onto camera. And there's a whole new ethos amongst that group of people, which is just produce and just speak, and somewhere along the line it will stick. Whereas when I grew up and we didn't have a going onto camera opportunity. We didn't have in our pockets this tool, which is incredible. A mobile phone, the smartphone now has the technology and the ability to take us and put us in front of millions of people, as we're seeing. So it was raw, it was real. Any speaking that you did was live to an audience. So you were face to face, right in front of the person that was eyeballing you, and you could see their expressions. You could see whether they liked what you were saying. You could see their slightly nodding off if they were falling asleep. You could tell if they enjoyed what you were saying because they would lean forward and they engage with you. Now, agreed, you can do that today with modern technology, with the phone, where people click a heart, they click a thumbs up or whatever, they respond to you, which is fantastic. What you're not really truly getting is a sense of who that person is, and you're not getting into their soul. You're not reading their soul specifically like you might do if you're in front of a live audience. But equally, that switches back because it innately brings out a fear in the presenter, in the, oh my gosh, they can see into my soul, they can feel what I'm feeling, they can see my nervousness, and people would clam up, and people still clam up today. I mean, the fear of public speaking and the fear of death are arguably, and have been for many years, quoted as being our greatest fears. The camera gives us a layer between us and the audience, which makes that easier. So I think if one of your fears that you currently have is, well, I'm just afraid to get on because people think I'm going to look stupid. Frankly, most of your life you've done things where you've looked stupid. It's just that the reality is going to be magnified here. And my experience of this is, if somebody doesn't like you, or they don't like your style, or they think you look stupid, that's really their issue. That's not your issue. And quite frankly, who gives a shit? At the end of the day, you're not here to prove anything to anyone. You're here to be authentic. And that's the message more than anything I want to get across in this short live session is, and I have a couple of questions that I've written down in front of me here that came in through direct messaging. Feel free to put things in here because I'm going to start to respond here on YouTube if anybody puts things into the comments. But the main question was, I've had rejection in my life before, and dealing with it in front of a live audience is harder because I've got nowhere to hide. That's actually a very valid point. When you're face to face with an audience and there's 10, 15, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000, whatever the number is, you are the sole focus of that individual in that seat. So in each seat, they're looking at one person, you. So any flaws that you may have, any stutters, any emotional blocks will be revealed, because human beings can read like a book. We can tell if somebody's lying. We read body language. We look at breath. We look at eyes particularly. And we instinctively and intuitively, with our evolution as human beings, can tell if somebody's being real or not. And equally, we can tell if somebody's being intimate, if they're going into their soul, into the depths of their soul, or if they're speaking from their head. And when somebody's speaking from their head, the connection is lost. So one of the easiest ways to overcome this fear of being rejected is simply to go up and allow your authenticity to shine through. Be open. Simply state to the audience, look, this is the first time in front of an audience. I'm a little bit nervous. I have something really important I want to share with you. But there may be times when I stumble a little bit. I apologize for that, but I just want you to get the best of what I have to offer. That's one approach you can use. Another approach is simply to go up and say, this is the first time I'm sharing this with any audience. I really hope I get everything over to you. If I don't, feel free to ask me questions at the end, and I will happily answer anything that I feel I can do. And if I can't answer it, I'll come back to you and I will find an answer for the question that you have. So sometimes by opening up and disclosing something as simple as that, and that may sound like, well, that was very smooth, Ro, the way you did that. But just bear in mind, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've trained countless speakers, entrepreneurs, people that go on camera, people that want to pitch and sell their products, but equally want to go into meetings, people going on dates. It's the same thing. The truth is we are selling ourselves all the time, whether it's to our kids to persuade them to do something, whether it's to our partner or the partner that we want to be with. That's who we are, human beings. We naturally are in that space of promoting and selling ourselves. What I've noticed with the growth of social media is that there used to be this whole Instagram, Facebook, look at me, the perfect scene, look at how I'm wearing my hair, look at my face, all those things. And for a while that was a huge space, and that's what people would do. But if you notice the shift that's been happening over the last, I would say probably 2 to 3 years, there is definitely, and I think particularly coming out of COVID, there's definitely a move towards a more raw, authentic, real style. People are using styles which are very unusual. They're commenting on videos in an authentic way, and something I've been starting to do. Or they're just simply coming onto camera in their pajamas, or when they're out and about, like me here. You can hear a bit of background noise at the moment. I'm not wearing anything flash. I could be wearing my suit, I could be wearing my jacket and tie, and all those things that historically people said it is a perceived way of coming across professionally. But the truth is that if you strip everything off somebody physically, what comes out of their mouth and how it comes out of their mouth and the authenticity, the truth, the realness of what they're saying, I think is the most important thing. And you can pick that up. So the first rule here I just want to get across is pick a subject that you want to talk about, that you believe in, that you know is important to you and important enough for you to be able to talk about it in a comfortable way. And then just communicate, and communicate in whatever way you feel the most comfortable, whether it's sat here outside, in my case, well, my children inside having their breakfast, or whether it's whilst you're sat in front of a green screen, which you can do, whether you want to record it and you want to tweak it a little bit and edit it, that's fine as well. It really doesn't matter, but just choose something. It could be talking about being a parent. It could be talking about making money. It could be talking about selling a product. It could be talking about getting healthy, whatever it is for you. And then narrow down on that subject in such a way that you're not overwhelming the person that's watching you. If you notice, I could be going in lots of different directions now with this call, this conversation, this live with you. But I just want to keep it really simple. And the really simple message, if you actually peel it all the way back, is don't worry, just be you. I have a brand called The Bald Truth. Just strip back and just be absolutely brutal. And if you make mistakes, that's fine. If you hesitate, that's fine. If you find yourself struggling a little bit to know what to say next, just pause. Notice I'm not doing lots of ums. I don't even know if I've done any ums in this last 5 or 10 minutes, whatever I've been speaking. And the reason for that is because I've learned, and I've done some short videos on this, I've learned that when you're speaking, just by pausing for a moment, shifting your focus to the very thing that you want to say next, but keeping the intensity and keeping the absolute truth of what you're saying on the next word, on the next message, it really doesn't matter about filling that with a or a or and all those things that people do. I can't even think of filler words now, because in that pause, it gives the listener a chance to process as well. We put an in there because we don't like the feeling of silence, because we feel the minute there's a silence, the person's going to be zooming in to find out what we're going to say next, and then suddenly we become magnified. But actually, in most cases, when you pause, putting an in is annoying. Because then the person actually watching and listening to you, they start to become more aware of the than the power of the words that you're saying. Does that make any sense? Hopefully it does. Appreciate I may have come on live with very few people watching because I've come on earlier than I planned. So if this makes sense to you, just think about it for a moment. The last time you watched somebody that had this habit of after a while, you become a little bit agitated by their Pauses are like the silence between notes in music. When you listen to music, the only reason the music has beauty to it is because it has the range, it has the pace, it has the pitch, and it has the pauses. And each of those pauses, so the pauses change, and that changes the feeling of the pace of it as well. Same thing with your speaking. I can do lots of pauses quickly like this, and as I'm speaking, you'll notice that what I'm doing is I'm just making it almost like staccato, or I can pause like this and really get you to think about one thing. What is that one thing? Well, now notice by asking a question with a long pause after it, instead of what is that long thing? The thing that I want you to think about, it completely destroys the feeling of the next thing that's coming. So use pauses for impact and start to see them as a powerful tool rather than something that is a filling space, a space that needs to be filled. So let me circle round back and put my glasses on, because right now I can't actually see if anybody's left a note or a message. There's nothing coming in at the moment, but that's fine. All right, so the main challenge I wanted to tackle was this fear of people looking at us and how we're perceived. And remember what I said, that is going to happen. Now, when you start using a camera like this, and you're straight to camera, and it's being magnified, there is no doubt that the person will be looking at you. Now, yes, granted, they may be distracted by the things around you, but they're going to be looking, did he shave this morning? Or has he got anything in his eye? All those things. But actually, they're minor things if the impact of what you're saying is really powerful. So communicating with an audience or with a camera is really no different. The way I treat it is the camera is you and you're in front of me. And so I'm looking at you and I'm not looking down here. Well, I might be if I'm looking at comments that are coming in. I might occasionally look off to the left or to the right or wherever I'm reflecting. And that's all right as well. Because human beings, in NLP, we use eye accessing tools. So we basically go off and we find a memory or a thought somewhere else. If somebody is talking to you and they tend to do this and they drift off, if they're doing it all the time, they're not present with you. But if they're talking to you like this, like I'm doing now, and I look across over to him, I think about something and I come back to the camera, then in that case, I've probably grabbed the thought or a memory or an idea, I'm pulling it in, and now I'm going to use it to communicate across to you. And that's fine as well, using those moments to reflect off. All these things are going to happen. But all you're really interested in is getting your message across. And hopefully if you've done it in a way that's quick and articulate and not too drawn out, then the person watching you, whether it's on camera like this or in front of an audience, they'll be there, they'll be taking notes. If they're in front of you in an audience, they'll be there, they'll be looking up, they'll be doing this. You might see them nudge like this to the person next to you, especially if it's couples and you're saying something that's relevant to one of them. Or they might be looking straight at you and nodding and acknowledging you. And often when that happens, you can look back into their eyes and reflect and get a strong connection there. On camera, you can't do that. So you have to imagine that you're talking to somebody at a bar or across a dinner table like this. I mean, I'm literally sat here on an outside dinner table. You could be the person I'm talking to at the dinner table, and I'm literally talking to you like this. And it becomes such a graceful process. Hopefully, as I'm talking to you now, it feels as though I'm engaging with you and I'm not really just talking to a camera. And when you do that and you get to the point where you're able to do it on a consistent and regular basis, it becomes natural. And then suddenly on camera, you become this person that's easy to watch. And hopefully for you, it's been easy to watch this video. So that's all I want to say in this short video today. How long have I been talking? 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Now, some people would be terrified to speak 15 minutes. I could carry on now for another hour and we could pick another subject and elaborate on it. So let me give you a task to do. If I could ask you to do this, go away and grab a camera and just pick one subject, just pick anything at all, and allow yourself 3 minutes, not 1 minute, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, but 3 minutes to talk about the subject that you've chosen. And don't allow yourself to go off track from that subject, meaning keep the subject right in front of you as a focus, but think about 1 or 2 or 3 things that you want to say in those 3 minutes. If you want to keep it really simple, I would go with one thing. You open with an introduction, you then hit them with the thing you want to talk about, which will probably take you about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes, and then you wrap up with a summary for 30 seconds. And that's it. Practice it. And then if you want to put a link to that in here and let me have a look at it, I'm more than happy to comment. So one of the things I want to do is give people some guidance a little bit on these tools and get you going so you can break this. And of course, this then expands into going into front of audiences as well. Right, I'm going to sign off. Hopefully that was useful, and have an amazing day. And if you've got anything you want to put down here with a comment or a link to a video you want me to comment on, I'm happy to do that. Signing out.